Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
This is exciting. It's Talkward Live. Okay, I'm just gonna go at it. You just already fucked it up. It's all over.
Totally professional.
Hi, and welcome to Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix, editor-in-chief of Weekly Humorous Magazine, and this is Talkward, a fun little podcast where professionally funny people come and tell awkward and cringeworthy stories. My guest today, I'm very excited, and I know that he has many awkward and cringeworthy stories.
Yay.
Just because just being in this small studio with him it makes me feel cringeworthy. No? Please welcome Jeff Kreisler. Hi, Jeff.
Hello,
Jeff,
Marty.
Jeff is an author. He's a speaker. He's a comedy person, writer, talking head.
The final edition, we should mention that. That's
Intellectual
yes.
hilarity.
Oh, very smart, funny.
He's
Funny
the editor. Are you the editor-in-chief? Are you the head person at the final edition? You and Tony Hendra?
Yeah, I'm the executive producer of the final edition radio hour and something on the website, but I haven't done anything there for years. I think I'm the managing editor.
Okay. So check that out, Final Edition, thefinaledition.com.
Thefinaledition.com, and find out the radio show. That's where it's really happening.
And that is weekly.
It's pretty much weekly. I mean, it started actually as a radio show broadcast on some stations, and now it's kind of a podcast. So
hey, that's where the listeners are.
Yeah. We were doing.
We've got 7 or 8 ourselves.
Seriously,
listeners.
Well, so what does that translate into? Like $4 million sponsorship,
at least.
Cool.
It's those uniques.
You need a little button like a morning DJ drive guy, like Talkward.
I have that someplace. No. I had like a soundboard that I can play wacky sound effects on my iPad.
See, I have kids. Does the same thing.
You can just squeeze them and they make wacky sound effects?
Yeah, like I'll be in the middle of something, I'll hear bang, 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 doing.
So your background is many different things in media. So I met you through the final edition. You were doing radio-type comedy. But on top of that, you write all these books that are on the more smart money side of comedy. So it's a little bit more upper crust comedy, where you're kind of speaking to the intellectual money people.
Well,
would you say that? Because you also speak at conferences. Yeah. You're like a talking smart head on cable television. So what's your business? You know, what kind of comedy would you put yourself in? Because you also do stand-up. You did the Guaranteed Delivery stand-up comedy show here.
That's my number one credit. That's actually on my business card.
Did Guaranteed Delivery once.
Yeah, you'd be amazed how many doors it opens.
Oh, thank you.
Just the one downstairs.
Right. It's just like you can jimmy it open.
Yeah. There are many answers to that. I would say that in the context of your question, I think that all the things that I do, all the creative work that's writing and talking about writing, ranges. It's sort of a sliding scale of smart, useful, and funny. Mm-hmm. And some of the stuff is more towards funny with a little bit of smart and useful. Like my stand-up, like the job of stand-up is to be funny first, and you don't have breathing room to do a diatribe. You have seconds to keep people's attention. So it's funny first. It's jokes first. I've always done political stuff, so I've always tried to get in some thoughtful, delusional, save the world shit.
Yeah.
I would say shit, right?
Sure.
Cool. And then there's, stuff that I write. Like I've written speeches for governors who gave at the Democratic Convention, and that's content first with some funny in it.
Right.
Or not politically, this latest book, Dollars and Cents, is all about behavioral economics and financial decision-making, and you're holding it up, and your listeners can see that. And
for those watching at home, this is the book, Dollars and Cents, How We Misthink Money and How to Spend Smarter. New York Times bestselling author, Predictably Irrational, Dan something, and Jeff Kreisler.
Yeah, and you'll notice on the book cover, my name is smaller than Dan's.
I did notice that.
Which is okay. He's sold multiple international bestsellers. He's the lead of this. But while I do know how to stand up for myself, my name is bigger than the word and. In the original design, it was the same as the word and. I'm like, listen, and did not contribute to this book. I did. And they're like, well...
That's great.
So anyway, that book is more like it's about the content, and there's humor in there. I mean, as I'm sure your listeners know, humor is a great way to get people engaged and a great way to get people thinking about and talking about topics that they might not otherwise. And money and politics, I've found, are certainly two of those things that people are hesitant to talk about for different reasons.
Yeah.
And so if I can use humor to get in there, I can.
But you also do behavioral stuff. So you do like behavioral science.
Yeah. So when the book was coming out, which has now been a year,
it's like you're the mentalist.
I am.
Are you like the mentalist,
I
Jeff?
actually feel like I wish that I didn't have a moral compass because I have the power to be an incredible supervillain. I have a law degree from a top school. I have
Princeton. You went to Princeton there. Fancy pants.
Yeah, that was not law, but still. That's where I studied Russian studies. So I know politics and Russian studies. Did you really?
You studied Russian studies?
Yeah. And my first book, Get Rich Cheating, had plenty of Donald Trump in it. I predicted this in my dreams. So Russian studies, politics, law. I wrote a book about cheating. I wrote a book now about like human behavior and psychology. And I'm a comedian. Like I pretty much can get away with anything if I just like keep flapping the yaps. But I don't. So anyway, maybe my next thing will be like a more of a fiction, a story of a guy that has all these powers and either fights crimes or gets laid. I don't know. Both.
Yeah, you could definitely, because you have the power to manipulate people using...
Do I, Marty?
Oh my God. Here's... I don't have anything of value.
Not anymore, you don't.
Here's my keys. But yeah, so I mean, how did you go from college and law to being this sort of mashup of stand-up, intellectual author...
Burning Man.
Burning Man, really?
Two or five times.
Yeah.
That story is going to be the subject of my next book. I'm sorry, Dad. But basically, I was always fascinated by the power of words. When it was about the law, it was like, oh my God, these constitutions that we write around the world, and I worked with a guy who wrote constitutions, which is kind of crazy. They shape society. They shape our interactions. Legal contracts shape how we can behave with one another. Words can... like shape so much in the way they're delivered, the way they're crafted. And so that was always a fascination of mine in politics and in Russian studies. Like I focused on the Russian media, law, and
that channel that the Russian cable news.
Yeah, RT. Yeah.
RT, yes. It was on at the gym. It was on at my gym, and I was like on the elliptical. I was at the gym at the Blink, and they have they have TVs, and they have all these many TVs, and they're all running things. It's like TNT's running reruns of Law and Order, and you're watching MSNBC, and then RT was one of them. And I was like, I don't know why am I getting shoved Russian propaganda at the gym? What's going on here?
Well, what was Fox News on?
No.
Oh,
and I thought it was really strange that this channel was on it like a regular gym. Like I felt like it was someone manipulating with the news, right? With the fake news. Like it was seeping into me just as I'm on the elliptical, cheating and pushing the thing up so that the calories go faster and I add weight to the thing. And I was like, why is this like subliminally? I'm watching a news station that's just like making things up. But
I don't know. You should ask your gym director.
I was like, who's in charge of this? Yeah, right. It's everywhere.
Well, see, what they do is they put it in gyms so that people get in shape, and then those are the people that they have in the ground forces when they attack.
I don't know. I felt very uncomfortable. I was going to say something, but then I didn't.
No, that's
because I got tired.
That's how they get
because
you.
I was at the gym.
Yeah. So the point is, words are really powerful and cool. And then I saw comedy as this place where you could talk about anything as long as you're funny, and being crafty with words is fun. It works.
Did you use this manipulation and comedy and intellect to land your wife?
Since she's probably not going to listen to this, yes.
Nice. Because you're married with 2 kids now.
Yes, I believe.
You look. The amount of tired you look makes me think 2 kids.
They're a blessing, and I suggest. Anyway, I will say
one is brand new, right?
Yeah, we just got her at the shop.
Yeah.
There was a little she had a little glitch, so we returned her. But yeah, she's brand new. They're awesome because they laugh at the same type of jokes over and over again. Mm-hmm. And most times you do comedy, you have to find new audiences. That's the real challenge. Keep building because you want to do the same shit.
Yeah.
For this, it's I got the same audience.
Because they have memories of a goldfish right now.
Not just that they don't remember, but they think Goo Goo Gaga is killer, which it is. Although it's originally a Carlin bit. I don't know if you
you can't rip that off.
Did I manipulate my wife? I don't think so. I did tell her. I did mention within the first couple hours that I'd gone to Princeton, which probably. But that was in passing because at the time I was one of those guys like, "Where'd you go to college?" I went to New Jersey, right? Or people like, "Where'd you go?" I went to Cambridge, right? I downplayed it. I was more like, "I'm a comedian. I'm an artist," because she was an actor at the time, and I'm like, "I'm creative. I'm a stand-up."
Did you guys meet in the acting type world?
Yeah. So we met on July 4th. A friend of ours, mutual friend. Has a family barbecue every July 4th on Stinson Beach outside San Francisco. We met. We didn't hit it off, but she was in his like summer intensive acting program at ACT San Francisco, and I was stand-up and also knew this guy at other circles. We didn't hit it off one year. Then the following year we met again at the same barbecue, and that guy, that mutual friend, ended up officiating our wedding.
What?
Which is
That's
the
great.
only place she's ever upstanded me. Is that the word?
Did you get married at the next year's barbecue?
No, but there was a barbecue involved.
That's nice.
My balls. They were barbecued. I don't know what that.
What? Is this part of the awkward and cringeworthy story part?
No, but since you brought up the yes, marriage is what brings us. So I guess what I'm saying is marriage is a manipulation, and good luck.
That sounds great. This is the Dollars and Cents is the newest book.
Yeah.
How many books have you written?
2 whole books and parts of other books. And
so the first book was the one Get Rich Cheating.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is more relevant now than ever.
It seems to be.
Yeah.
Because I have a copy of that in the library here too, and I don't know
you don't have to get it
if I have it. I can't possibly get
Wow,
it
you're
out.
holding it. How incredible.
Oh, yeah, it's big. I believe it's green.
Yeah, there's green in it.
I have it.
That was awesome.
What is that about? That's about...
That's a satire like Stephen Colbert meets Jim Cramer or Tony Robbins. Like, it's how to get rich cheating.
Yeah.
And it's basically step-by-step, like, you need this and that to either do steroids or manipulate financial stuff or steal elections or, get on the Hollywood casting couch. And it's just all this stuff. And Trump is in there for, like, certainly in the bankruptcy section and boasting and... It's just it was
overinflating,
yeah,
and then almost gaslighting yourself to the point where people believe it, right?
Yeah, just being an own brand, creating your own.
Because
thing.
His first lies were getting in the was it the Forbes 100 like richest people or something?
Yeah.
He inflated. He talked his way into it, and he was nowhere near the minimum. Yeah, he was like
he's built on nothing. He's a paper tiger.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it'll happen. My hope is like everything about his whole life of scam crumbles down. I mean, it did. Like that New York Times report about the tax fraud.
Yeah.
He and his dad did. That's basically like, look, he is nothing.
But nothing sticks, right?
It sticks. I don't know how far down the road of tribalism and confirmation bias you want to go, but some people don't give a shit, right? Like they want their guy. They've bought in. And the people that already think he's scum don't need further evidence.
I feel like everybody knows that he's a crook, but they just don't feel like going through the motion of getting him out of office because that might disrupt the economy and disrupt the nation to a point where they don't want to do it. So they're just kind of waiting it out, I feel like they're discrediting him as much as possible, and then they're going to be like, okay, 2 more years, and then we're done with this.
I guess so, but also the tools to get him out are all controlled by people that are benefiting from him being there, just by the nature of his party affiliation.
I was reading something in, I think it was the New York Times, but I really find it fascinating when they go back and you hear about presidential history from like the 1800s or something like that, and how things were really effed up, and hilariously, like people were drunk all the time, and it was when... Lincoln had gotten assassinated, and his vice president was, I want to say...
a man. He was a white man. I remember that for sure.
I don't think he was Zachary Taylor. Jesus, I don't remember.
Wasn't he the guy from Full House?
Stop. But whoever it was horrible, and he was like super racist and totally against...
good things.
Well, no, it was right after they were trying. It was like the Civil War had just ended, and he basically was going back on everything Lincoln was trying to do. Yeah. And basically Congress pretty much did everything they could to tie his hands so he couldn't be the president. But he was still the president, but he couldn't make any real decisions, and they pretty much took control of everything, and they would pretty much pass and veto anything that he would do. They would just pass it themselves. Yeah. They blocked everything he tried to do just because they all decided this guy's terrible. We need to figure a way out of this.
That was back when Congress, I guess, wanted something for the country, or they felt like they just had a civil war, so they probably felt like we got to get our act together.
Right.
where we've had several decades now of pretty comfy living.
Have you ever thought about, or did you ever work in politics?
Yes,
because you write speeches, so you're a speechwriter, so that's political.
Yeah, I thought about it. I mean, I went to law school to be Thurgood Marshall or Thomas Jefferson. Both those jobs are taken, and I thought about getting more involved in it. In fact, I had interviews to be the speechwriter for Bill de Blasio and for Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo? No, Perry Como. Who's the governor?
Perry Como sings very nicely.
Yeah. I didn't get those jobs, and I'm kind of glad I did. Politics is like, show business has a lot of sociopaths in it. I think that's hello, listeners. Politics has an equally large number, and so does news media for different reasons. And I couldn't work in a place where people take themselves so seriously.
Yeah.
I think there's important work to be done, and I want to contribute to that. But like day to day, there's also a goofy, wonderful world out there to just be like, it's silly, goo goo gaga.
And it seems like everything is a struggle when you're in politics. Like someone's constantly trying to destroy you or sidetrack any sort of agenda you have to help people. Everyone's like,
and it's just, again, it reminds me of show business. Someone said to me, someone I work with who was a politician reached out to me recently because he or she was going to appear on some news panel, CNN or something, and wanted like some jokes, which I'm happy to do now and then. It's been a while since I'd heard from him or her. I'm obviously hedging my bets here, and I whipped off some, and like he or she never really even said thank you, or it just sort of moved on. And I was telling a mutual friend of ours, and our mutual friend was like, "Yeah, he or she is really considerate and thoughtful for a politician."
Yeah,
and it's sort of like that. It's like, oh, he or she is really nice for a show business agent,
right?
Just by some of it, like I don't blame people. It's just the nature of stuff.
Yeah, it's like if you hear back 30% of the time, you're like, wow, they're great at communicating.
Or just like, and it's like, does your environment change who you are? Like for me. Like when Get Rich Cheating first came out, I didn't have as strong a support sort of publicity machine as I did for this Dollars and Cents, and I was just like all self-promotion. And as your listeners probably know, comedians and other people, like you have to do a lot of self-promotion.
Yeah.
And I just found myself like it worked. I got on TV, I had a regular spot, like it was fine. But like I hated who I was becoming because I had to like lead with me, and I'd much rather hear about other people.
It's needy. You feel needy.
So needy, and it's just like
the kids call it thirsty.
Yeah,
that's what I learned from the interns.
Although I thought that had to specifically
when you hashtag
sex.
Things because you want to get noticed.
Yeah.
I'm acting too thirsty. That's what I learned.
Which is like who?
But also, if you don't act thirsty, you don't get what you want.
Right. So there's a balance there, and there's a whole. It's a whole mess, and I just come from this delusional background. I'm like, I'm just going to do good work, and I'll get rewarded for that.
You won't.
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck with that.
What are you talking about? I'm on the Marty Dundix.
That's
cast.
right. You're
What's this called?
It's called Talkward.
Oh, right.
The Marty Dundix cast. Everybody just unsubscribed.
Exactly. Wait, that's Marty?
If you're just joining us live on the
Are you the only one your age with the name Marty? I
don't know. Do you know any other Martys?
Marty McFly would have been like 60 by now.
I don't know. I think there are other whenever I meet another Marty, they're usually fun people. I think it's kind of built in. It was a very popular name up until the moment where the Ernest Borgnine they did a live show of there was a play called Marty, right? And it's just about this absolute loser, and it's very depressing.
Yeah.
And his name is Marty, and then it was like the first live programming on television was the television broadcast of this play Marty, and it was very widely. I mean, it was like the number one. It was everybody watched it. It was a revolutionary moment in television. There was no options. And this was a big deal to do a live television show, and it pretty much made the name Marty associated with like the biggest loser in history. And I've looked at graphs of this, and the name Marty was incredibly popular up until that point. It dropped to like 0%. And it never really regained. It regained a bit from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Then it got cool again. But, I mean, it's up there with Walt. Like, you don't really see that many
There's a
Walts.
lot. Or Gerald.
I mean, Jerry. You hear some Jerrys. But, I mean, yeah.
I think they should
Atticus. Really don't see that many Atticuses anymore.
I have a friend who's got an Atticus. And his sister is, I don't remember what it is, but it's something equally.
Finch?
Probably.
Finch?
I think they have a dog named Finch. What if Alexa was instead named Marty?
Wouldn't that be wild?
I think the shit like Alexa. I'm always kind of surprised. Alexa's it's got soft consonants. You think they'd have like a hard consonant there, right?
And what about the person who's named Alexa?
Yeah,
she's just like, you talking to me? Oh, you're not talking to me. Are you talking to me? No, you're talking to the robot.
Okay, that was the worst De Niro impression.
Are you talking to me?
Heard.
I didn't. I wasn't doing.
So I guess the point is, books are sweet. I will say, can I do my little I'll attempt to make it like a minute and a half or less little diatribe, not diatribe, a little thing on.
Sure.
So
if you're just joining us, we're here with Jeff Kreisler, author of the book Dollars and Cents.
I'm about to break this shit down
in bookstores now.
So this is about the road where comedy can take people and unexpected places, and I would certainly say I'm in an unexpected place now, giving talks about behavioral economics that are funny and writing books and running this website, People Science, and all this other stuff. I like to think, and I think I'm accurate at this, like I'm a good comedian, maybe a very good comedian, but that's not enough in show business. I'm talking about stand-up. You have to be extraordinary. Like I remember working, doing open mics with like Donald Glover and Baron Vaughn and some others who were just like undeniable talents, right? They're going to make it no matter what. But in show business, as like just a stand-up, for instance, you have to be really good. Then you also maybe have to have some fortune, some connections. You have to have other stuff happen. And we're talking about a moment ago, like how it changes you, makes you thirsty, makes you like desperate. Like it's a really hard industry because there's no like, here's the path, just work hard. Right? It's a lot out of your control. I often talk about my friend Kamal Bell. You probably know. We were in San Francisco together. He started a few years before me. Brilliant comedian, kind guy, and he was touring. And I don't want to misrepresent his story, so we can check on it. But basically, he was touring with his show, the W. Kamau Bell Curve, and he was considering sort of pulling back from stand-up because he had a family to support, everything. And Chris Rock came to his show, his live show, and was like, hey, I want to take you under my wing and help you out. And that really boosted his career. He deserves it. He's smart. He's funny. He's considerate. But what if Chris Rock had the flu?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
What if he hadn't come? So this whole industry is so messed up, and it can mess with your heads. And I'm now at this place where, like, I still wish I had my own version of The Daily Show. I still wish there's still like a little bit of that wishing I had that other thing. But at the same time, I went through the doors that were open, and I'm doing stuff where like I can be funny. I'm getting feedback. I'm getting paid, which is nice. And in some ways, for me, I'm actually helping people. Like I'm not just delusionally being like George Bush is an asshole.
Right.
It's like I'm giving them tools to improve their life. And it's really hard to look up from that grind of comedy, like I want to write for this Netflix show, I want to be on this other show, I want to make a movie, and think about the other stuff that you can do with it that can be just as rewarding.
Yeah.
So to people that are like struggling with that, think about what it is that you want out of comedy. Like I want people to laugh at me, or I want money, or whatever it is, and realize that there are other avenues for that. Especially now when comedy as a communication tool is more like respected throughout everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my little like.
So it's almost like you're thinking outside of the box by thinking of a new box. Yeah. So instead of going after the one thing that everyone's going after, what can you? It's like zigging and zagging, right? Yeah. So you zag and you find that other thing where you can be the only one at this thing,
or just be open to it, even if you don't like actively pursue it. Like when I got hired to write for this TV show on Current TV, it was a news show about with Governor Jennifer Granholm was the host, and it was progressive, and I thought about it in terms of like a clock. If like both hands at 12 midnight are, I get to create and star and produce my own version of the Daily Show. That's my ideal.
Yeah.
Like how far afield is this work option? Is it like 1 o'clock, or is it down at 6 o'clock? And so if it's close, most people in the world are not working at 12 o'clock, right? They're lucky if they're working between 9 and 3, and I'm doing a lot of visual metaphors on the radio. So like if it's close, like that's great.
Yeah.
Most people go to a job that just sucks, and they're just all they have as a reward is the money, and so finding something else is good. I'm done with my grand philosophy because like later today I'll like hate everything again, but that's how I feel right now.
It's a trade-off, doing a job to make more money versus doing a job you really like to make less money. I feel like that's something that everybody has to choose, or does choose. They choose early in life, or then they change it up midlife when they realize that they aren't happy at all with what they're doing, and then they have this whole life change.
Yeah, it's probably better.
I've consistently had jobs where I've been happy and doing what I wanted to do, but I've never made any money at it. Like
final edition for me.
I've made enough money to claw together a living. But I've never been at a job where I'm just punching a clock and I'm dreading every day, but I'm getting paid enough.
Which is awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, but I mean,
there's
definitely that. There's definitely that. There's like two sides of the coin in the United States. I feel like that's what people have to do.
Right. So it's fascinating. So in some of the work I'm doing now with from out of the book and this website, People Science, about behavioral science, it looks at motivation and incentives, and it looks a lot about non-monetary rewards. And I won't bore everybody, but basically, there's studies.
Too
that show,
late.
people? They're not. If you're there, wave your hands. If you're at a company, you can give somebody a bonus, like a $5,000 bonus if they hit some target.
Right.
Or you could give them a trip to Hawaii that costs the company $3,000. And it turns out, based upon all these studies, that that trip to Hawaii has much greater value than the cash. It has much greater motivational force because it's comp, but you get to imagine it, get to take your family. It's special. Remember, the point being when we measure stuff, our value and our worth just on money, we're missing out on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Now you have to get a certain level of income because you just have to survive. Otherwise, you're in a scarcity mindset. But if you can get to, like you said, that place where you're making enough money and then doing something you really like, that's more than most people get. No one will ever lay on their deathbed wishing they spent more time with their money.
Exactly.
Except for Trump.
Or his pretend money.
God. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that.
So what are you working on right now? I saw. I mean, the book got a lot of press.
Still getting press. It's crazy. It's working with the pro tip. Work with people that are better than you. My co-author Dan Ariely is much better than me at everything.
Yeah.
And we just got a best of list a week ago from a book that's been out for a year.
It's interesting also because there's many different types of publishing, books, types of books, and this is It's like a smart financial type guidebook. So you're not writing a fiction, nonfiction, historical, whatever. You're very niche, and the people that like you in that niche, they're very intellectual types. So it's neat to be in a narrow focus of the top. Smart money people who like reading those, because there's definitely a whole line of books that are not necessarily self-help, but they're businessy books.
Yeah.
There's certain people that only read businessy. My father is a businessy guy. He runs a small company, and I've never seen him reading a novel.
Catcher in the Rye.
Exactly. He's reading businessy books that have to do with his business, improving his business. He loves businessy books.
So I am following everything you say, but I will take exception that our attempt here, and what I think we were successful, is to broaden it. I think that's why my co-author has written those, but I always talk about him as a TED Talk NPR guy. That crowd loves him, the intellectuals. But we wanted this book tells stories about everyday people. That's sort of why he brought me on, to make it more accessible to everyone, because everyone has problems with money, financial decision-making mistakes. They overspend. It's the holidays, right? People spend too much. So we tried to broaden it beyond just business people.
What's a major tip, or what's the top few easy tips that are the accessible and can help anybody type things that are in the book?
There's a principle called relativity, which is basically, when we think about sale prices, people are more likely to buy a $60 shirt that was $100. Now it's 40% off than just a $60 shirt, because it's complex, but we fall for that comparison. And the tip is don't fall for sale prices. Don't think about what you're saving. You're not saving anything. You're actually spending an amount.
That, what I like to do, because I'm guilty of that, and I'm always I gotta buy. I have to take advantage of this deal.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was brought up that way. That's how my
it's
mom
marketing,
is.
Baby.
Right?
Scarcity, get it?
And it is. It totally. And I'm like a reformed hoarder. Absolutely reformed hoarder. I used to have. I purged my apartment. I used to have so much unnecessary stuff, and I am definitely guilty of seeing something. I'm like, oh my god, that's a great deal. I need to buy 10. And now I'm thinking, but no, it's a great deal. If I don't buy any of it, I save 100%.
Exactly.
And I have to say that to myself all the time. If and I'll go to the grocery store and I'll pick up a lot of stuff, and then I'll go and I'll put half of it back. And I think, I feel so great. I just saved $13 because I didn't buy any of the stuff that I don't really need.
You only buy $26 worth of groceries?
Less, probably less.
Oh, single life.
I know.
You can just
just Goya black beans. You can use them for every meal.
You can.
You can.
It's remarkably gassy.
Yeah.
So that's one.
We are in a small studio.
Was that what that was?
I don't know.
That's just how this.
I think I stepped on a duck.
That's one that everyone gets me. I get people that I don't even know, like either email me with curses or praise because they're like, "Now I can't go shopping, you dick," or "Thank you, I can't go shopping."
Yeah,
that's what. And I will say, well, there's a ton of cool stuff in here that I had no idea about. But one thing everyone should be aware of is this thing called the pain of paying. How paying actually stimulates the same region of our brain as physical pain, right? When we hand over cash. And that is good, right? Pain has an evolutionary purpose to make us pay attention and think, is this a good idea? But what we've done with financial technology, from credit cards to Apple Pay to Easy Pass, is we make it so we don't feel that pain, and that means we don't think about those payments.
Definitely.
And so beware, like all this new cool apps that make spending easy, makes spending easy, makes it so you don't think about it.
Way too easy.
Yes.
That money just goes.
Right. It's if you're dropping $1,000, you can take a minute to write a check or whatever.
Put it back.
Kids do.
Rethink.
Yeah. So
Because I feel like you get on you'll get on kicks where something is a luxury that you start abusing because you don't feel that you're spending the money, and I think that's Uber, where I'll get myself very addicted to Uber because it's so convenient and it's so nice to have them just pick you right up and take you where you need to go, and there's no transaction at the end. You get out, and that's the difference with taking a cab. And I took so many Ubers recently when I was on a business trip to Los Angeles, and I really didn't think about any. I thought I did such a good job on spending, and then I really looked at it and I was like, oh my God, I spent so much. I could have just bought a car.
Exactly.
I didn't need to take
none
all
of the
these
cash
Ubers.
left my wallet, but why is my credit card company calling me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Uber is so awesome. I mean, awesome in quotes about using all this behavioral stuff. Because the other thing, you look at Uber, you turn it on, and it shows you like how far your car is, and like it's coming. And that, like when people show you the effort that's going into something like that, it makes the wait time seem less.
Yeah,
because you're showing, the car's coming, or you're not just waiting 5 minutes.
The anticipation, you know, it's the management of expectations,
and it's Amazon, Uber, Apple. They're all like amazing at this manipulation stuff, and amazing at using it.
Are you a stock guy? Do you do financial marketing type things?
I do a little bit. I've taught. I mean, I know some of the behavioral stuff behind investing.
It seems very behavioral science based.
So
stock
this is what
trading.
This is what blew my mind.
I feel like emotions drive so many dips and rises in these markets.
Yeah,
a tweet. People tweet something, and it crashes things, and it ends companies. And you got Elon Musk tweeting some bullshit dumb thing, and then all of a sudden, boom! They're gonna like remove him from his company because
capitalism is a fraud, man.
Right? You're just like, what's going on? Someone tweeted a hashtag, and all of a sudden, everyone's selling off.
It is totally emotional, and I had this instinct about it, but I didn't know until I dug in there. A friend of mine runs a company called Essentia Analytics. It's great if you're investing people to check it out. And it's all about like dealing with investors, like fund managers, and their emotions and their behavioral thing. Because like even pros, or you think investing is like just a numbers game. No, it's not. Like you get on tilt like you do if you're gambling, right?
Yeah.
Like you lose a bunch so you want to make it up, or you just like you think you're winning so you act like quickly because you can make no mistakes. And like all this behavioral stuff and all this emotional stuff affects all of our financial decision making, whether it's like buying that $60 sweater or like investing in pets.com. I mean, it's crazy. We're all emotional, quivering beings.
Yeah.
And you should send me money. I have PayPal. Just send me money to learn more. I just set up a Shopify. Have you ever heard of Shopify?
I love Shopify.
Yeah.
Weeklyhumoristshop.com. If you want to buy great humor gifts for the holidays, use code humorist10 for 10% off your first order.
Wow, you could almost be a radio person.
Great stuff. And I'll put a link to your book when we put this up on the site, and people can buy it from Amazon, I'm assuming. Is there an e-reader?
You can buy it everywhere. The audiobook actually won an award.
Who's reading it?
It's this guy Simon Jones. He's this awesome British actor, and I was very
he has a British accent.
Yeah, which I was hesitant.
Makes everything sound smarter.
How is he going to do my dick jokes in British? And then the shopper put his penis on the credit card machine. That's my British.
Is that in the book? Are there penis jokes in the book?
Not explicitly. Can I tell you one joke that didn't make it, and I didn't want it to make it?
The first title was actually Dollars and Cents and Penis Jokes, but then it got edited. Just like how the Jeff's name is smaller on the cover.
The penis was smaller too. I was like, listen, we can either enlarge my penis or my name. They're like, well, we can't do the impossible, so your name is going to be bigger.
Your name is going to be bigger.
Yeah. So there's one joke that got cut out.
Tell us the
by
joke.
cut out meaning like I knew it wouldn't make it, and I was just sort of joking with my co-author about putting it in there. But we have this visual where it's like a bunch of circles, and you're like supposed to look and compare the sizes, and it's a long, complex thing. But the circles are all like these dark black circles, and so for like you put a little caption on the bottom of images. I wrote "Black size matters," and I feel like that would have changed the whole tenor of the book.
Yeah. It would have politicized things unnecessarily.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of being quiet now for your listeners the chance to catch their breath from thinking about a financial decision-making book with black size matters.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have. We can delete all this, right? The whole thing.
The whole thing's live.
Can you just like repost someone's Better interview?
No.
Ooh.
Do you have other books you're going to be writing?
Yes, but I don't know what they are yet. I'm in an incubation phase right now. I've got a book out. I've got a website. I'm doing all this speaking.
What's the website?
peoplescience.com.
And the website is behavioral sciences. I've seen a lot of news bits about this on the LinkedIn.
Yeah. It's all that's all behavioral science for what it's all about. Like you learn about it, how you can apply it, the challenges, the ethics, the costs, and all that. It's a thing. It's not a humor site though. It's humorous. And Final Edition Radio Hour is still going. I'm still doing stand up. I'm speaking, and I'm trying to decide what the next project to bite off is. The longer I've been at this, the more like I don't just leap into projects anymore because I know it takes a lot to get something done right.
Well, for the Final Edition, I mean, you're partnered up with Tony Hendra, who's a legendary satirist.
See,
and that's I mean, I listened to it. They broadcast it. I believe they broadcast that live when they do it.
They stream it. So most of our production now is out of our LA office. We started here in New York with a great team that was awesome. All the teams were awesome. And then one of our key players from that moved out to LA and started gathering an LA crew of like comedians and writers. And
who are the LA people?
There's a bunch of them.
You can drop some of their most popular people's names, and then they can be happy that you mentioned them.
Yeah, but what if by like random chance they're listening and I don't mention them? Barry Lank runs it.
Okay.
And there are other people on there. Jessica Park is on it.
Okay.
Keith Saltones is on it.
Yeah, I've seen Keith. Keith's good on the internet. He's good at the social media.
He is very good at that.
There's a girl that was New York-based, and then she moved to L.A., and she always posts things.
Well, Jessica Park does that. She's one of those, and so is that other person. And then there's that
something
Samantha
Moon.
Gurwitz.
Can't remember her name.
Moon.
I don't know.
Soleil Moon Frye?
Nah.
Anyway, they're great. It's mostly broadcast. Our production is mostly in LA now, just because of life, and they Facebook Live their recording sessions, which are
sounds
fun.
Great. It's very funny. People should check that out. TheFinalEdition.com. The Final Edition Radio Hour. Very topical.
Sometimes it's also
satire with teeth. Right?
Yeah, we've had a lot of taglines. We were ferociously disrespectful.
Ferociously disrespectful.
We did a whole thing for Howl, which is part of Earwolf, on the Supreme Court, like a 3-part series, which has predicted what recently happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Earwolf's great. How'd you get looped in working with them?
Remember I was talking about my little penis earlier?
Yeah.
They were impressed.
Really?
They said, can you do this audio-wise?
Incredible low expectations.
I don't remember how we got hooked up with them. I think one of the people, one of the higher-ups was a fan of the radio hour and said, hey, come over here. And we did. And we were like, hey, we should be on your network. They're like, no. Instead, how about you make this one-off?
Yeah.
And then we won't talk to you again. And they did.
That's great. They followed through.
Yeah, podcasting is something, right?
It's very popular. How are you feeling? Are you okay?
You mean like right now or in general, like about life?
Right now.
I feel pretty good. I just had a sip of something.
No.
So what happens here? Do people just we wait until everyone leaves the room? We just keep talking until like you can tell there's 0 listeners.
Do you have a awkward or cringeworthy story for me?
Yeah, I have a lot. Let me think.
Try to think of one that's
here's one.
That's funny.
Let's cut right to the real pain. I was in New York for a few years back. This is probably back in 2003 or 4. And at the time, particularly when I was on the road, I was doing political stuff. I had this bit that I loved. It actually won me the Bill Hicks Spirit Award because it was on the tape that got there. And it was like this long rant about blaming stuff. And I end up like just sort of like losing my mind. And like I end up on the floor, and I end up like prone and it's like really intense and engaging when it goes well. I was invited to do a show in the Drama Bookstore, on 40th. I think they're closing it. In the basement, they had this cool performance space, and the person who invited me was one of the writers on The Daily Show, and also someone ended up being an executive producer. And there were a bunch of people from The Daily Show there. And to me, The Daily Show was like the holy grail at the time. Like, I want to work on this show. And I made the decision, I'm not going to do just like traditional joke, like my set that's just like, hey, George Bush did this, wacky punchline, haha, laugh. Like, I'm going to do this bit that's like a 3-minute bit out of maybe like an 8 or 10 minute set, and I'm gonna do it because it's special, right? It's been killing it. It's won this award, and I was doing, my set was going fine, and I did the bit, and it was just fucking pure crickets. It was just like that deathly quiet that happens, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't connect.
The sound of bombing.
It did not connect. I recovered and finished my set a little bit, but you could just like feel it go away. And I remember like people were going out for a drink after, and I like couldn't. I remember like I'd driven in for some reason. I think I was picking someone up from the airport before, whatever. And I remember sitting in my car and watching people walk, and just like this empty like feeling. And at the time, I'd only been in the city for a while. I'm like, I'll get another shot at that. And I did. Like, I had opportunity. Like, I applied for writing. I made, I got writing packets through and all that. Never hired. But, like, looking back, I'm like, you make these choices, right? Now, if it had killed...
Do you think that if it had killed, things would have ended differently?
I don't have any idea.
Would there have been a ripple effect that would have changed your entire professional life that night?
Maybe. Sliding doors, right?
Wow.
You never know. I mean, I don't think they would have been like, oh, my God, here's a show.
Yeah.
But, maybe somebody there would
You know what show I love that's on right now is that Netflix, the Patriot Act. God,
wow.
Couldn't get that out.
Totally epileptic.
Yeah. Patriot Act.
I haven't seen it.
With Hassan
Minaj.
Yeah. Yeah. He's great. It's like watching a kind of he calls it a woke TED Talk.
Yeah.
Very entertaining.
There's a lot of both platforms for comedy and comedy stuff out there.
Yeah.
It's not all great, but there is some great stuff that I don't think would have found a home in a previous era.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it now with behavior. Hey, you ever notice, if you think about it, okay, comedians like a Seinfeld or a Larry David are like, hey, do you ever notice people do this stupid shit? Behavioral scientists are like, yeah, and this is why. So somewhere in the middle is me going, hey, give me some money.
Well, that sounds great, Jeff. Everybody go to Jeff's PayPal and just give him money.
Thanks for respecting that scab I just ripped off my fucking life. Like, instead of being on the Daily Show, I have kids. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
It's a trade-off.
Dick.
At least, well, I mean, a TV show is not going to care for you when you're senile and old.
It might.
Well, that's true. Residual checks. The book is called Dollars and Cents.
Yeah, the other book is called Get Rich Cheating.
The other book is called Get Rich Cheating. They're in bookstores. They're online. You can go to Jeff's website, which is what?
JeffKreisler.com, Kreislar.
JeffKreisler.com. Thanks for coming on Talkward.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for living up to the name of the show.
Where can people find you on the Twitter or the Instagram? At Jeff Kreisler?
Everything is at Jeff Kreisler. That's good. And I don't Instagram. I've made a decision. So Facebook.
So no one's
Twitter,
seeing photos
LinkedIn.
of your life. No one gets a peek inside the magical life of Jeff.
I don't want to intimidate people. I was an Instagram model before it was a thing.
What were you modeling? Like airplanes? Like model airplanes?
You know what? I don't want to reveal all my secrets, but let's just say the bubble butt didn't start with Brazilians. I don't know what that means. Can we erase that?
Idea.
Are you still recording?
This whole thing is live. It's fine. No one's going to listen to this.
My phone is blowing up right now.
Is it? Thanks for listening. This has been Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix, Editor-in-Chief of Weekly Humorist. Please visit us online at weeklyhumorist.com. The next Guaranteed Delivery live comedy show is at the Mailroom 110 Wall Street on January 9th, so check that out. For more information, check out weeklyhumorist.com/guaranteed delivery. And follow us at Weekly Humorist and at Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix, at Marty Dundix. And this has been Talkward. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Marty.
All right. We'll see you next time. Talkward is distributed by Humorist Media. Oh, and we have a sponsor.
That you probably shouldn't say that for the very end.
We're sponsored by Swill. the liquor store in your pocket. Go to getswill.com and use the code FUNNY5 for $5 off your first order. All right, now we'll see you next time. Bye, Jeff.
I'm not going anywhere.